Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video and welcome to the finale of our F1 2000 career mode. Yes, we return this weekend here to Brazil. If you missed out on the last video that went live last week from Mexico, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. But it all comes down to the season finale here around such an iconic circuit, and for the third year in a row, both Ferraris are in with a shot at the world title. Pedro DeLa Rosa leads the way, just 1 point ahead of myself. Michael Schumacher only 14 points back as well. It is, I mean, either any of us three could win this title. It honestly could genuinely go any direction as well in this finale. My goal, just beat De La Rosa and then hope that Schumacher remains somewhere close as well by the end of the race. Obviously, for Schumacher to win the world title, I would need to come 4th. De La Rosa would need to come 5th place overall. So if we can get like a P2 or a P3 and make sure that we're ahead of De La Rosa, I'm really not too worried if Michael beats me. Of course, in 1998, Eddie Irvine got the better of Schumacher. In 1999, the roles were reversed. It was Schumacher, obviously, that got the jump on his teammate. This season, for the first time inside this series, it is a three-way scrap. And I must admit, I'm a little bit nervous. We're going to need a lot to go our way, but it has done all season long. Can we finally get one last stroke of luck? Let's do this thing. Well, if we are somehow able to win this World Championship today, unless we get a miracle in this final qualifying session of the year, we will become, I think, after Niki Lauda, just the second ever driver to win a World Championship without claiming a single pole position. That goes to tell you just how kind of non-race focus this car has been all year long, and how just kind of staying out of trouble and everything like that has made the difference. I'll be honest, it's even for a championship decider like this, it's very rare that I kind of get this nervous. I guess, you know, looking at the raw pace, Ferrari should have absolutely dominated this campaign. Both world titles should have been wrapped up a long time ago, but the fact that so much has gone our way this season to kind of keep us in the fight, to keep us close with both De La Rosa and Michael, I mean, it's going to take yet another upset here if we're going to walk away with the crown. But boy, oh boy, I would love to do so, especially, you know, still with all these rumours that we could be going to McLaren for 2001. You know, that'll be a car that hopefully means that it's going to be a little bit easier to try and fight for a world championship yet again. But as we make our way out of the final corner, once more, we're going to end up in P9 at the end of qualifying. It's not great, but it'll do. Well, Schumacher storms to pole position then, and I guess that works quite nicely for me. The Spaniard, Pedro DeLa Rosa, will line up, though, on the front row just ahead of Jacques Villeneuve there. McLaren struggling down in 6th and 7th place. Home hero Barrichello just got ahead of us come the end of qualifying, but let's move into the race.
Formula One returns to Sao Paulo once again, with the stage set for what promises to be another classic Brazilian Grand Prix. Sebastian Vettel famously clinched his 3rd championship here in 2012, and in 2016, Max Verstappen treated us to one of the finest wet weather drives of all time. It's an unusual anti-clockwise race here at Interlagos, where the Sao Paulo locals are packed into the grandstands at each of the 15 corners around this classic 2.7-mile circuit. 2 very fast sections bookend the famous and highly technical Sector 2, where getting a good run out of Junção into one of the 2 DRS zones will be the key to any overtaking prospects today. And so, for one final time this season, Anthony Davidson joins me in the commentary box.
Well, the winter break is looming once again. No doubt many of those teams already have their eyes firmly on next season. But there's still work to be done here. Still championship positions to decide, which can make a big difference to the prize money. So no one's going to be taking their foot off the throttle just yet.
Boy, oh boy, do I want to come back a champion. BAR in just their 2nd year in the sport. The car has been fantastic all year long. Could have done with a bit of extra horsepower, but that's by the by at the end of the day. You know, we can't have everything in this sport, but reliability, strategy, tyre wear, everything about this car has been a joy to drive all year, and I really do think the team deserve a big result as well to round out the season. Let's do this thing then. It's time for the Brazilian Grand Prix. 5 red lights on the grid. And it is going to be lights out, and away we go. They're trying to get a decent start in towards turn 1. Hans-Hal Fredson, once again, will get the better launch than he is. Oh, Michael Schumacher, I didn't actually realise that. He took grip penalties then, heading into the season finale there. So Pedro DeLa Rosa will probably get a clear run at the front of the order there, as we're just wheel spinning everywhere. Just behind here comes Jan Magnussen trying to look around our outside. By the time we get down in the Esquito de Lago there, but this time round won't lose as many places as we did last weekend in Mexico. Yeah, that's okay though. As always, we're just looking to try and survive the starts in this series. As all Hill and Schumacher almost banging wheels there up through the S section. I mean, yeah, Damon Hill and Sauber, of course, he stayed in the sport longer than he managed in real life. It's been a very topsy-turvy campaign for Damon though this year, but Ralf Schumacher, he's had so many strong races and then just seemingly has come away with nothing from far too many of them. Jordan and Jaguar this year both have really struggled to kind of maintain that momentum that they carried over from 1999, but I tell you what, that Jordan car does have a lot of straight line speed in it. The Sauber definitely doesn't though, as here goes Ralph around the outside. Pedro DeLa Rosa though in exactly the position he needs to be at the end of lap 1, as Schumacher battling with the other Jordan driver there. Schumacher of the Michael variety, of course, as well. Ralph there gets a huge moment off of turn 1, and we will get the long way around there up into P10. And I think that's Ralf Schumacher immediately out of the race. And we got a safety car. Well, let's ride on board then with Ralph. You just see, gets that snap of oversteer. We get the long way around the outside, but he just can't gather it up and just completely takes out the second Sauber of Jean Alesi there. Let's take a look at this from Alesi's point of view. You can see he's a couple of cars back in the train, but Ralf Schumacher just snaps one way, snaps the other into the wall, and both drivers out of the race on just lap 2. I mean, I know it's only lap 2, but we've got to try and do something different in this Grand Prix, especially if De La Rosa is just going to try and control this race from the front of the order. Like I said, we have to beat him this afternoon. We can't afford to finish behind Pedro here in this season finale, so we are going to peel into the pit lane then and move over to the hard tyres to get through, hopefully, to the end of the afternoon. It's a strategy that's worked many times for us before so far this season, but can it work once again? So you can see Fisichella as well into the pit lane, so clearly has the same idea. But I'd love to know how many overtakes we've done this year as well, just by obviously restarting so many races after safety cars towards the back of the field, and then trying to carve our way back through the order, as I think we are green flag racing once again then. Looks like we've actually got a decent restart jump there on Nick Heidfeld, who's immediately going to try and swing defensive. No, he's not. He's going to send it down the inside of his teammate Jenson Button there. That's going to leave us under pressure from Giancarlo Fisichella. And I mean, everybody else knows what's at stake for us this weekend. They know, you know, we can't afford risk. We'll have to dive out of the way in some of those moments. Luckily, the Menard is pretty weak in a straight line, which makes our life a little bit easier. And we will move up then into P15. Like I've said, you know, Schumacher isn't my main worry. It's just about whether De La Rosa or anyone can try and battle with him. What a year it has been from Mika Salo in that Arrows car, as we try to look down the inside of his teammate. Very aggressive move there on Jean Alesi, who was lucky to kind of just back out of it through that final corner. I mean, we've still got to be decisive with our overtakes. There is De La Rosa, to the surprise of nobody, still at the front of the order after that restart lap. But yeah, Mika Salo running up in P11, battling it out for points once again. I mean, his run of form at the start of the year was something I've never seen before. He did a better job, I think, in those early races than we did when we were an Arrows driver back in 1998. He really has been a star this year. And yet another flying fin in this sport. All over the back then of Jos Verstappen. I'm hopefully going to try and fix that, ready for 2001. I just could not seem to do anything with it ready for this 2000 season there. And down the inside of the Dutchman will go, though, and back into unlucky P13 of this race. Yeah, I'm still not entirely sure why Wirtz obviously appears twice inside this mod, as here comes Jos Verstappen once again, only by, well, I guess not by name inside this game. But yeah, I'm hoping for 2001 that is going to be fixed, of course, once we get more driver moves and things like that. As Salo and local hero Barrichello wheel to wheel up in front. Again, they're very, very lucky to survive that one there. I think Salo might have damage. Maybe has lost a little bit of his front wing, and after I just spoke his praises, the Arrows man, I mean, yeah, hasn't really scored any points in the last few rounds. Damon Hill as well seems to be a little bit all over the road just in front, so both Arrows and Sauber really struggling here. And, well, for the second time in about 4 laps, we're going to dive bomb an Arrows into that final corner. Team are loving it. Oh, Damon Hill there just made a little bit of an error, and that's going to allow Rubens Barrichello to put alongside him. And I mean, yeah, myself and the Brazilian just trying to make as many moves as we can through some of these slower cars, struggling for grip and confidence through this S section. I mean, the Jaguar this year, it's been a little bit better than our car in a straight line, but it has definitely been one of the better cars through the corners as well. It just hasn't really suited them in the same way it has us. But I mean, yeah, De La Rosa still setting fastest lap repeatedly at the front of the field. I mean, we're only about 10 seconds behind though, so when he does pit we might be in front, but it probably just won't be for very long. Well, I can only assume then that Schumacher picked up damage. So yeah, 9 seconds behind Johnny Herbert isn't too bad going, but yeah, I can only assume, yeah, that Schumacher picked up damage, hence why he pits so early. We've had no one else into the pit lane still, as Barrichello and I just kind of dragging each other along. It's awkward. The devil, Michael Schumacher, he's only about 15 seconds behind me though, and going very, very fast. And it's probably not a good sign early on in this race that I just don't seem to be able to find a way around Rubens here in the early laps. But having said that, he is going a bit quicker than at least Jan Magnussen in front of him. This time around we're going to get pretty close. Down the inside we'll go of Barrichello at that first corner. Then again, this car is so good on the brakes. It has been all year. It really does allow us, obviously, the amount, you know, some of you guys have been commenting that I can only really go for dive bombs, but when you've got a car this slow in a straight line, dive bombs are kind of your only option in a lot of scenarios. You can't really do a lot else against the other runners here, but Frentzen a little bit further up than 7 seconds up the road. But when are we going to see AI pit? Oh, there we go. Jacques Villeneuve into the pit lane then, so we're starting to see a few of our front runners dive in. It is only Villeneuve though, so that's quite an early stop. I'm not even sure by the time De La Rosa pits that we're even going to be out ahead of him. There we go, the second Williams car of Alexander Wirtz, this time the real Alexander Wirtz, into the pit lane as well then. It seemed like an odd move for the Austrian, sorry, not the Austrian, the German even, to go to Williams this year, but it has been... it's been a weirdly decent campaign for them. Williams, of course, yeah, really have taken a leap forward once again overall, but you can't help but think, what could Villeneuve have done had the momentum of that team stayed the same in the second half of the year there? I mean, he was a serious title threat. He led the World Championship for quite a while in the early stages, but in the time it's taken De La Rosa and I to score like 130 points, Villeneuve scored about 50 in that time. I mean, now we've got to try and line up a move, though, on Jan Magnussen. Oh, he really tries to cover me off. Oh, that was not my finest, I'll be honest, but Jan Magnussen kind of forced the issue there a little bit more than I really wanted, and I didn't want to give him damage as well, as Hakkinen and Frentzen both into the pit lane. I think Jan Magnussen's going to try and come back at me there as Barrichello in. De La Rosa also in the pit lane, but he's going to be probably out in front of me. There is the Ferrari as we try and chuck our way through the Schumacher S. And yeah, look at that, De La Rosa. Is he going to be out in front? Yes, he is. We've got the run, though, as we try and make our way down the Esquerdo Lago there. Here comes Magnussen yet again. I made myself an enemy. But De La Rosa still in front of us. But now we've got sights on the Spaniard. Oh, Schumacher's gone. Schumacher's gone. We got a safety car. What on earth's happened? Well, Schumacher, his back has been against the wall all season long. And just a little error there. Coming together with the Benetton. He was lucky the other one didn't run into the back of him on the exit of the corner. But Michael Schumacher, we thought after the opening few races there was no way you get back in this title fight. He managed it. He dragged it right to the bitter end. But the German will not defend his crown in 2000. Well, that does work out really nicely then for both our teammate and David Coulthard in this Grand Prix, because they'll get a bit of a cheap pit stop each. And Johnny Herbert, yeah, once again, he was leading this race before the pit window there. So as they make their way out, though, myself and DeLa Rosa will be through. So that Villeneuve will also be through, as well as Jan Magnussen, who's refusing to pit just yet. And now suddenly you're top two in the championship. The two men left in the fight this year for the title are 1 and 2 in this Grand Prix. Well, I don't think we've had a single race this year that hasn't had a safety car. Burnt my Lander. I hope he's on a per appearance of fee so far this year, but lining up right behind DeLa Rosa, and he's nailed that restart timing there. He's going to absolutely get the jump on me. We're going to have to go on the defensive from Jan Magnussen once again in towards someone. Still the Jaguar driver, I believe the only car yet to have pit in this race, but can we try and keep the pressure on Pedro? That's going to be our only chance in this world title. But I mean, look at that, Villeneuve and Magnussen flying past me there, and DeLa Rosa just opening up the gap, getting free at the front of the order there. I mean, that is the dream restart for him, as Villeneuve is going to try and go in pursuit of your race leader here. I mean, we're under pressure now from our teammate Johnny Herbert. Again, though, the problem we've got is through the corners. I mean, we are so quick against the likes of Magnussen and even Villeneuve there, struggling to really get away in the same speed he does down the straights, but we just can't do anything against them right now. And will we see Magnussen dive into the pit lane? No, we won't. So Jan Magnussen's going to stay out there for yet another lap. Maybe he has pit and I just never realised it. So he certainly will not be boxing this lap there, as down the inside of the Dane will go once more. I was worried I made a bit of an enemy out of him earlier on. I think that's happened there. Will we see Villeneuve be able to apply the pressure to Pedro DeLa Rosa, though? Or are we just going to see the Spaniard open up his lead? Well, on the one hand, it is so frustrating not being able to fight with either of your top two. But on the other hand, it does seem quite fitting that your top three, you know, the three that battled for the championship so much earlier on this season, are now your top three in the finale as well. Of course, early on in the campaign, it was only us three. I think we were the only three cars that won a race in, like, the opening 8 of the season. I think it was 3 for DeLa Rosa, 3 for Villeneuve, and 2 for myself from the opening 8 Grand Prix.
2.6 seconds.
I mean, I would take a Jacques Villeneuve win here. As long as we beat DeLa Rosa, I would take a Villeneuve win. But at the moment, yeah, both the Williams and the Ferrari just seem to have their legs on us. Well, less than 15 laps to go then, and DeLa Rosa and Jacques Villeneuve, they're both running somewhere between half a second to a second a lap faster than me. DeLa Rosa, new fastest lap of the day there, as we're only about 8 tenths away. That being said, though, Villeneuve doesn't really seem to be dropping away much at all. And as we saw with Schumacher at Kota, it only takes one little slip up for the car behind to get the jump, and that could really help us out. But at the moment, we're kind of in a situation where we need a miracle, either that or Ferrari to destroy its tyres yet again. Well, no idea who's bringing out the yellow flags in this Grand Prix, and we've got another safety car. What on earth has happened? Well, it looks like Rubens Barrichello's luck, just like it always seemed to be in real life here in Brazil, is going to be exactly the same inside this series. Our home hero out of the Grand Prix, and a disappointing end for Jaguar. Ooh, Villeneuve's pitted? Why on earth has Villeneuve pitted? Clearly, Jacques Villeneuve wanted to try something a bit different then, as our teammate as well dives in. DeLa Rosa, though, opts to stay out there. He just wants to hold on to track position for as long as we can, and, well, we've been given a lifeline once again to try and attack the Spaniard. But just like last season then, with about 10 laps left of the Grand Prix, it is going to be a Ferrari leading the way, and once again, the championship is coming right down to the wire. DeLa Rosa, he's going to go exactly in the same location he did last time round, And that will once again leave us just a little bit vulnerable. Well, luckily that time round, able to defend from Mika Häkkinen in this Grand Prix there. And we do hang on to P2 off of this restart, so it means we can set our sights on Pedro DeLa Rosa in front. And like I said, we've hounded Schumacher even throughout the last few laps of that Grand Prix to try and keep ourselves in the hunt. He made the error, and that allowed us to sneak by. Can we do the same with DeLa Rosa here? He's got to have ice in his veins in through these final few laps. Well, I keep thinking back to Mexico last weekend and how obviously we lost that victory in the last couple of laps to Michael Schumacher there. I mean, both DeLa Rosa and I setting new fastest laps. But yeah, the Spaniard again still has about 4 tenths extra in the back pocket over ourselves here. I mean, could he go through his tyres? Could something happen to that Ferrari late on in the afternoon? Every single lap that passes by, I just lose a little bit of hope. And we've got a VSC and another couple of drivers gone. And that is our teammate Johnny Herbert. Running on board then with Johnny Herbert. Oh, it's actually the arrows in front of him that bins it, just like we saw with Schumacher early on. Herbert out. I think Salo out as well there. And I think even another car got involved in that one. I think it was the other Arrows car, so both of them involved in the accident. And, I mean, loads of cars have gone in that one. We lost like 6 cars from that accident. But there's not enough time for another one. The game won't give you more than 3 safety cars. That's why we haven't seen another one. But that has left us then with just 9 runners in this Grand Prix, so hopefully Jenson Button, our only driver yet to score a point this season, could today finally be his day. Yeah, I'm trying to do everything I possibly can to use all the fuel up towards the end of this race, Mark, but again, another race of attrition late on this season. I've got no idea whether Button is inside the top 10. We might lose another one. So we've still got yellow flags out. No idea who that is now. I think that's Villeneuve gone. So what on earth is happening? We're down to 8 cars in this season finale, maybe. No, Villeneuve's still out there. Well, at the moment, then, this feels more like the end of a British touring car season. Never mind Formula 1. Always a great watch, because, of course, the teams don't need the cars anymore, so they basically just all go out there and absolutely smash into each other. As I think, yeah, Villeneuve's was a mechanical failure, not an accident, to be fair, which is quite uncommon inside this series. But you see the Williams there down at turn 1, and that probably just goes to explain the second half of his season. While Häkkinen is hounding us so much towards the end of this race. I mean, we are just doing everything we possibly can to try and keep him at bay. But Pedro DeLa Rosa, I mean, he's what, 2.5 seconds up the road now. Less than 6 laps left of this race. Now we're under pressure as Häkkinen is going to come screaming by. He hasn't got enough top-end speed, though. And I mean, if we're going to walk away with anything, I want it to at least be P2. Or maybe Häkkinen knows I could be his teammate next season over at McLaren, so just wants to try and remind me why he is so highly rated inside the F1 paddock there. But 4 laps left. I mean, look at that. He's trying to look around the outside up and towards Ferradura. That is a very, very brave opportunity. But yeah, Häkkinen, you know, he's a very clever driver, of course, in this alternate universe. He's not a Formula 1 world champion, but still waiting for that chance. Well, no idea what's going on right towards the end of this race, but 2 laps to go then, and we're now actually seemingly starting to take some time out of Pedro DeLa Rosa. Admittedly, it's not a lot, but that gap finally starting to go in the right direction here. But if these are our last 2 laps in a BAR car for the foreseeable future, what a season it has been with this team. You know, we've gone up against everything. You know, this organisation struggled so much in 1999. Admittedly, I signed on with quite a big paycheck. That was kind of the last convincing factor for us, but we saw something in this team, they saw something in us, and just like our 1999 campaign with Jordan, everything, we just kind of maximise every single result we possibly can, try to avoid making the errors, and we're going to walk away with massively, you know, kind of over-exaggerated season performance come the end of it. Annoyingly, though, as we are about to start the last lap of the Brazilian Grand Prix, it looks like we are going to come up just 1 place short of the World Championship in both this Grand Prix and the overall crown there. Pedro DeLa Rosa What a bizarre story it has been this year. Everyone just assumed he would be the number 2 to Michael Schumacher, but he came out of the blocks with some big results early on in the campaign, where Schumacher struggled, maybe spent too much time partying after his, just astonishing 1999 World Championship drive there. And DeLa Rosa, on the last lap of this Grand Prix, despite Schumacher giving it everything on numerous occasions, the Spaniard has not wavered, apart from us. Of course, he would have been the only driver to finish every race this campaign had we not come together at Suzuka. And I tell you what, as gutted as I am for us, Ferrari and the Spaniard, they absolutely deserve this World Championship. That car is so quick, and he would have been unlucky. Ferrari's strategy might have hindered him on numerous occasions over the course of the campaign, but for the first time since I believe the 1970s, when Lotus managed it, Ferrari, 3 different drivers are going to be world champion 3 years back to back. As he rounds the final corner, Pedro DeLa Rosa is your Formula 1 2000 champion, and we just come up short.
You gave it your best, but it just wasn't our day.
And Pedro DeLa Rosa, pole position, he would have had fastest lap, race victory. That is how you become Formula 1 World Champion in style there. We did everything we possibly could, but ultimately that Ferrari was just too quick on the day. Hakkinen comes through for P3, so a decent end to what has been a terrible year for him and McLaren there, beating out Frentzen and Coulthard, with Jos Verstappen in P6 in that Benetton ahead of his teammate Giancarlo Fisichella. And Button, in his rookie campaign, it meant that every single driver scored points this year. I must admit, I am quietly quite happy for our fellow Brit there. You can see, taking a look at the Drivers' Championship results in the end, DeLa Rosa, he takes that crown by just 8 points, and had we had the win in Mexico, maybe, just maybe, well, there would have been 1 point in it, which obviously would have been even more painful. I'm sure we can look back at all kinds of scenarios over the course of the campaign, but ultimately it just was not meant to be our year there. Michael Schumacher in P3, a very good recovery after the early mishaps. Probably was the fastest driver throughout a lot of the season, but just too inconsistent for his own good. And especially in this series, you cannot win world championships in that fashion. Villeneuve, he will come back, I'm sure, stronger in 2001. Johnny Herbert, 5th overall, a really good campaign by our teammate as well. Beats out Coulthard, who gets the jump on Wirtz. Hakkinen didn't even cross the 100-point barrier by the end of the year. Frentzen, best of the rest, in 9th, ahead of Barrichello in the end. Jan Magnussen beats out Mika Salo, with Ralf Schumacher and Damon Hill. Wirtz and Jos Verstappen even gets the jump on his teammate Fisichella in that final race, as both of them jump Jean Alesi in the championship. Jarno Trulli down in 18th there, and Heidfeld and Button tied on 5 points apiece. Constructors-wise, we ended up 107 behind Ferrari in the end. I don't think we were ever really going to challenge them. Benetton, though, jumped Sauber in this final race as well, so a good job done. And Jaguar, yeah, P5 in the end, just ahead of Jordan there. But thank you to everybody that continues to enjoy and support this series. I know it's got a few issues with the mod and things like that. I know it's not the most popular one on the channel, but for those of you that do kind of enjoy this step back into history, it really does mean the world to me. I do love this series. I'm hoping we can try and continue it on, get all the way to that 2007 season in this alternate universe. I'm going to take a couple of weeks away before we get into 2001. At the moment, this series, I don't want it to go anywhere either. Thank you all so much, and maybe next season we can try and claim the title.